I need to get a post up, and then I'll have chat ready. Copy. Let's just go ahead and start it. Live now on Rumble and YouTube. Lots to cover today. Hope you will join me. Seems reasonable enough. Alright, let's get my chats open over here. And we'll get right into it. Live now on YouTube, on Rumble and YouTube. Let's the cover today. Hope you'll join me. Oh no. Mute that. Here we go. Alright. Like I said, lots to cover today. But we'll get through it all. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. This is episode 26 of Addressing the Issues. Before we start today, I'm going to give everybody a reminder to chat with me today. Big stories today, lots of stories. Like to hear y'all's input on them. And also, before we start, if you are on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're on Rumble, be sure to follow and turn on notifications. That'll make sure you guys get notified when I do go live, and you'll be able to come back and chat with me once again. So yeah, yesterday I finished by saying the terrorist plot by the Turtle Island Liberation Front that was foiled by the FBI seemed a little sketchy. Said I'd break it down today. So yeah, yesterday the FBI announced the arrest of 4 individuals related to a terror plot to bomb multiple U.S. companies in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. The press conference cited the December 2025 executive order to target radical leftist terror groups as to the reason why this attack was foiled. All 4 in this case were charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device, and the FBI intends to file additional charges in the coming weeks. The first assistant to the United States Attorney claimed the defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which according to their own social media is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. All 4 arrested in the operation were members of a radical faction of the Turtle Island Liberation Front called the Order of the Black Lotus. The federal complaint states that in November 2025, Carroll, the leader of the Order of the Black Lotus, created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on New Year's Eve. A first assistant U.S. attorney also said that part of the plot was a step-by-step manual to make IEDs, and said that part of the conversation claimed Carroll acknowledged that what the group was doing would be considered a terrorist act. The plot also entailed another step, which would be to attack ICE agents with pipe bombs in the aftermath of the original attack. And part of the plan, which was discussed through an in-person meeting and an encrypted messaging app, was to build and test the bombs in the Mojave Desert. He claimed that the group took significant steps to take this out by driving to the Mojave Desert and unloading their bomb-making materials to assemble and test the explosives, and were arrested by the FBI before they could build a functional explosive device. During the search warrants, investigators found pro-Palestine and anti-ICE rhetoric at Carroll's residence. The FBI claims it arrested 4 individuals linked to the terror plot near 29 Palms in San Bernardino County before showing a video from the surveillance aircraft depicting 6 people at the site where they were going to prepare and test the bombs. There's a slight difference between 4 and 6 people. The FBI claimed they knew of the plot and were able to stage multiple SWAT teams, special agent bomb technicians, an evidence response team, along with the FBI's elite hostage rescue unit the elite hostage rescue team in the desert to disrupt the plan. But with this, you begin to wonder if there's 6 people there, and only 4 were arrested, and the FBI's elite hostage team were staged in advance. What are the odds the group will claim entrapment and get off scot-free? It's unlikely, but this sounds awfully similar to the Ohio Bridge bomb plot scheme, which saw 5 young impressionable adults claimed semi-homeless by many and radical anarchists by the FBI, which were inspired by the Occupy movement. The informant in this case, the Ohio Bridge bomb plot, was accused of talking the defendants into buying the fake C4, giving them transportation, nudging them along with the plan, and allegedly gave a few of the defendants illegal drugs. A man who turned to an informant, this was a man who turned into an informant when facing his 13th criminal conviction while still committing check fraud while working for the FBI. If only 4 of the 6 people in the surveillance video of the Turtle Island Liberation Front plot planning were arrested, it means that the other 2 were likely FBI informants. Noticing the parallels in these 2 cases, you can begin to wonder how far along these 2 informants likely pushed the plot, and would the people of the Turtle Island Liberation Front have acted on their own? While all 5 individuals eventually were charged in the Ohio Bridge bomb plot, you begin to see a pattern here of what many would call entrapment. And you would wonder if, had the FBI not been involved in either of these, how far along the individuals would have pursued their plans. The 4 charged in the Turtle Island Liberation Front plot had their initial court hearing yesterday, and trials will be sometime in the future. But I do look forward to hearing the FBI's role in this instance, and if there's any way they attempted to advance the plot more so than if the Turtle Island Liberation Front members had acted alone. But we'll see. That'll be an interesting thing to come out soon, what the FBI's role was in it. On to our next story. The jobs report in November added about 64,000 jobs. This was 14,000 higher than expected. Yet unemployment has risen to a 4-year high at 4.6%, up from 4.4% in September. This is after the October jobs report showed 105,000 positions lost, with retail sales remaining flat over the same time period. The Bureau of Labor Statistics cited the government shutdown as a possibility for skewed data in the November report, claiming they used much more back-end math than is traditionally used in the jobs report due to the sample size. This is because during the government shutdown, these federal agencies were closed and were unable to collect responses from their 2 surveys, one which goes out to businesses and one which goes out to households. The over-the-phone survey, which goes out to households, was entirely scrapped for the month of October. Another cited reason for a large loss of jobs in October was deferred resignations by people employed by the federal government. The federal government is the largest employer in the U.S., sitting at about 1.8 to 2% of the total U.S. workforce. You can do with that what you will. I don't think that having the government employ that many people is a great idea, but if you enjoy people that say, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, then maybe you'd want that number a little higher. Another story that came out today, or I guess last night, NASDAQ is stepping closer to 24/7 stock trading and is expected to have a 23-hour trading cycle on weekdays by Q2 of next year. This move would make trading American stocks much more accessible for people around the world, and it would make it easier for foreign actors to manipulate American markets. This move would add a second trading session from 9 p.m. Eastern Time to 8 a.m. Eastern Time on weekdays. This would leave only a 1 hour daily break from 8 p.m. Eastern Time to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Analysts have warned this would mean more market volatility and larger price swings in the market, leaving investors less time to fully process financial events. Other analysts claim that this would reduce volatility by smoothing big morning spikes or drops, allowing investors to trade while overnight news is occurring as opposed to waiting until the next morning's opening. But NASDAQ is not the only exchange pushing for longer hours. The New York Stock Exchange is also seeking to extend trading hours to 22 hours daily. This change would mean investors would need to monitor stock prices throughout the night or be prone to waking up to surprises. And this change would likely open the door for a new title to rival the day trader, the night trader. Maybe that's more beneficial for some people, but we'll see. I think there are going to be people that come out as night traders, and they'll try to make money off of the volatility overnight while everybody else is asleep. And we have an update on the Brown University shooting. Around the time of the stream yesterday, the Providence Police released a third and fourth video of the suspect in the Brown University shooting. These were not the same video I described being recently released at the time of the stream yesterday, along with a still frame image of the suspect, which cropped about 1/3 of seemingly his face. But last night, FBI Boston announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the individual responsible for the mass shooting at Brown University. This came alongside a photo op of investigators raking snow with a steel rake and shoveling snow with the shovel upside down. I looked up why one would do the latter, shovel with the shovel upside down, and it claims it would be useful in removing packed snow or ice from hard surfaces like driveways and sidewalks, which does not explain why it was being done on grass. But people in the comments have explained that they think they were looking for shell casings, but given the incident allegedly occurred in a classroom and the reports of gunfire in the street were deemed unsubstantiated the night the incident occurred, unless one of the casings was a Shep Boyardee commercial can, it's highly unlikely it rolled out of the building across seemingly a sidewalk or parking lot and into this grass. But we need less photo ops of this and of investigators and more photos of the suspect. The suspect is still on the run and it has now been 4 days. We know there were cameras inside the building that the incident occurred in. And we know Brown University is one of the most surveilled campuses in the U.S. with over 800 cameras. The fact we have so little footage of the suspect is borderline criminal in itself. About an hour before today's show, FBI Boston released a 6+ minute video detailing the timeline and route the suspect took before the shooting with what seems to be all private residence cameras, and 2 videos from after where I would estimate the suspect is at least 100 feet away from the video camera. In one of these videos, the suspect seems to walk right past a responding officer, so hopefully we can get body cam footage or dash cam footage from that vehicle. But there still seems to be no footage available from one of the 800 surveillance cameras across Brown University's campus. In another, sad story, last night the director of Massachusetts Institute of Technology Plasma Science and Fusion Center and Professor Nuno Loureiro was killed in his home from multiple shots. Loureiro was a nuclear scientist and engineering professor who focused on astrophysical and laboratory plasmas. Loureiro worked on magnetic reconnection and energy conversion mechanism, confinement and transportation in fusion plasmas, which used Verito, I'm probably getting that wrong, to solve equations of the 4D physical model known as reduced gyrokinetics, a simplification of 5D 5D, gyrokinetics, and confinement of alpha particles. This year, Loureiro was awarded the National Science Foundation's Presidential Early Career Award for scientists and engineers, acknowledging him as a premier scientific leader in the U.S. But this comes just over a year after a leading Russian rocket scientist was killed, and less than a year after a group of Iran's leading scientists were killed. So it makes me wonder if it would be a retaliatory thing as opposed to just foul play. But this incident is being investigated as a homicide with no suspect currently in custody. So for some good news, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent predicts U.S. households will receive tax refunds ranging from $1,000 to $2,000 in early 2026. This was done through the extension of the 2017 tax cuts and new deductions for tips, overtime, and U.S.-made car loans in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. He claimed that most employers have not updated withholding yet, so paychecks are still taking out too much for tax purposes. This will be retroactive to all 2025 earnings. Next year, Secretary Bessent expects employers will adjust forms to account for the larger take-home pay. He also expects this change to ease inflation and promote stronger growth to counteract everyday costs. In a, memo released a couple hours, maybe 1 hour before I went live today, the FBI warned the Biden DOJ that it did not have probable cause for the Mar-a-Lago raid on President Trump. The memo states that the Washington field office did not believe that the Department of Justice had established probable cause for a search warrant for classified records at President Trump's residence. The memo states that the 6 weeks spent by the Department of Justice on the case were counterproductive. The memo states that there had been no witnesses since an earlier return of classified records on June 3rd, 2022. The Washington field office recommended a consent search as it found a search warrant more intrusive than options still left on the table at that time. It states that the former president was willing to assist and cooperate at the time the classified documents were retrieved in June, and that conflating presidential records with classified documents would put the jurisdiction in the hands of the National Archives and Records Administration as opposed to the FBI. The memo ends with the Washington field office asking the Department of Justice to facilitate read-ins with the White House counsel on comparted documents recovered via NARA, or the National Archives and Records Administration, claiming the request remains outstanding and was a logical investigative step to ensure the documents remained properly classified via an Office of Court Administration review. This memo seems to state that, in the opinion of the Washington field office, the raid on Mar-a-Lago was unjustified and unfounded for the FBI. And all this, and we still have 0 deep state arrests to this day. In another story from yesterday, the United States Southern Command reported 3 strikes on 3 different vessels operated by designated terrorist organizations. These vessels were in international waters. The report claims that the three strikes claimed the lives of 8 male narco-terrorists. These boats were said to be transiting along a known narco-trafficking route in the Eastern Pacific. And perhaps the most interesting story of the day, today President Trump has announced a White House address for Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be tuning in, as these types of addresses from the Oval Office are considered rare and are often used for key policy changes or significant national matters. But this is something that could obviously not wait for the State of the Union, which is typically held in January or February. But I do have my suspicions about what this is. I think it may regard a request of Congress for a formal declaration of war, preceding an imminent invasion of Venezuela, which I hope is not the case. I don't think that going to war is a stellar idea right now, but I do find that this is very likely regarding recent developments such as Trinidad and Tobago opening its nation's airports for use by the U.S. military yesterday, and the large number of U.S. military assets being staged and deployed in the region in recent weeks. Today I've seen at least 5 different U.S. military aircraft off the shores of Venezuela through a flight tracking app. But if you want a more minute comparison that would lead you to this same, guess of where this is going, think about the extravagance of the national anthem rendition at the Army-Navy game this weekend, which President Trump attended. And then go back to Whitney Houston's Super Bowl 25 performance. This was 10 days into the Persian Gulf War. If you want to have a musical example for how this could be conflated. But I hope I'm wrong. But these coincidences and circumstances are certainly uncanny. But we will see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what President Trump has in store for us during his address tomorrow night. Like I said, this will be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I truly hope it's better news than my speculation, but I do think it's quite likely he will be asking for a declaration of war from Congress, which is worrying, I think, for anybody. But that's all we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's a little bit of good news today with tax return or tax refunds. But I guess that's about it in good news. Another bad news day, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys all drop a like. If you're on YouTube, be sure to follow or subscribe. If you're on Rumble, be sure to follow. Also, if you're on Rumble, there's a little green dollar sign in the bottom left near the chat. If you'd like to donate to me once or do a monthly donation, I'd much appreciate it. It helps keep the show going. But beyond that, let me know what your comment, or put it in the comments after this video goes live of what you think the address will be about. I'd like to know what you guys think. That's my speculation, but maybe if somebody has better news, one of my buddies actually reached out to me and he said that he thought it would be about the Epstein files, but I figured, that would be a little bit, I don't think that'd be an Oval Office address as much as it would be like a Pam Bondi or press secretary address. I think that's who that job would be assigned to. But yeah, I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on what this could be. Maybe you could put my mind at ease that it's not that we're asking for full war from Congress. But that's all I have today. Make sure you guys are dropping a like. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern time. Sorry I was a little late today. Lots of news, lots of stuff to break down. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern time. I hope you guys will join me. To all my people on the East Coast, I hope you make it home safe. To all my people further west, I hope you get home safe as well and finish up your workday strong. I'll see you guys tomorrow.